Okay, in this video, I am going to explain what Amendment 1 on Florida's November 2016 ballot is all about. So as you can see here, I am actually logged into HelpSolarPower.com. That's HelpSolarPower.com. I am under the tab Amendment 1 is a bait and switch amendment. And I'm going to basically give you an idea of what's going on here. The first and most important thing that I want to let you know is that this amendment is sponsored by the big utility companies. If you see the list here of top donors, and you can find this at the Florida Department of State Division of Elections, you can see that the top donors are all utility companies. So there is no environmental group here. There is nobody here that has any interest in solar or in helping the environment, or nobody that has any interest in, having a free market in Florida. If you look here, Yes on One is sponsored by Duke Energy, FP&L, Tampa Electric, Koch Brothers, ExxonMobil, Gulf Power. So basically, all utility companies. No environmental groups, no pro-free market groups here. Everything here was paid for by the big utility companies. So this is pretty easy to follow. You can go online at HelpSolarPower.com if you want to read it yourself, or I'll read it here for you. Amendment 1 is a bait and switch amendment designed to confuse voters in Florida. Amendment 1 on Florida's 2016 ballot was paid for by Floridian's big utility companies, by Florida's big utility companies under the misleading name of Consumers for Smart Solar, also known as Yes on One for the Sun. Yeah, really, Consumers for Smart Solar. This should be called Utilities for No Solar. Basically, this amendment was designed to fool people and help the utility companies. As you can see from the list of top donors below, the only ones who support this amendment are big utility companies, as I stated before. And you can see $60 million, a bunch of links here, so you can see exactly where all this information came from. All right, I'm going to keep reading. Amendment 1 on Florida's November 2016 ballot is a blatant bait and switch amendment designed to mislead and confuse voters. Amendment 1 is not pro-solar. Amendment 1 was sponsored by the big utility companies to help the big utility companies, not consumers. The utility company's proposed Amendment 1 reads as follows. And here we go. I like this outline. It basically shows you the bait and switch. It shows you exactly what's going on here. The green is the bait and the red is the switch. So the bait is rights we already have. This amendment will provide no new rights for solar owners or consumers. So the name of the amendment, as it reads at the top, rights of electricity consumers regarding solar energy choice. They should really get rid of this choice word here, because this doesn't provide consumers with any choices. Florida has a monopoly. You're basically forced to buy power from the big monopoly utility companies. Florida is actually one of only 4 states which do not allow anybody else to sell you power other than these big monopoly utility companies. In other states, you can actually have solar panels installed on your roof free of charge, and you can purchase power from the people who installed your solar panels at a fraction of the cost. That is banned in Florida because these big utility companies own the people who basically pass these laws. So anyhow, let's read the first 2 sentences here, the bait. This amendment establishes a right under Florida's Constitution for consumers to own or lease solar equipment installed on their property to generate electricity for their own use. State and local governments shall retain their ability to protect consumers' rights and public health, safety, and welfare. So again, first sentence, this amendment establishes a right under Florida's Constitution for consumers to own, lease solar equipment installed on their property to generate electricity for their own use. This here is a sham. This is a scam. We already have the right. Right now, you can go buy solar panels from anywhere and generate your own electricity. This is not a new right. This was put on here to purposely confuse and mislead people into thinking that this amendment is pro-solar. The sentence that follows reads, state and local governments shall retain their ability to protect consumers' rights and public health, safety, and welfare. Again, state and local governments already have the ability to protect consumers' rights and public health, safety, and welfare. Why they put this on here is beyond me. Well, actually, no, we know why they put it on here. They put this on here to confuse people and to make people believe that now consumers are going to be getting some new protections or something, which in fact they are not. The first two sentences should not have even been allowed on this amendment. This is blatant bait and switch. This was blatantly put on here to make this amendment sound pro-solar. Here we go. Last sentence. Here's the switch. And to ensure that consumers who do not choose to install solar are not required to subsidize the cost of backup power and to an electric grid access to those who do. So basically, they're saying that somehow the people who do not have solar power are subsidizing the ability of people who do to access the grid. So this is the switch here. Basically, the utility companies want the rights to legally penalize, fine, and charge Floridians for having solar. So they want to penalize people who have solar panels on their roof for using less power. So let me give you an example. Let's say I spend $200 a month driving my truck to work, and I decide to buy a motorcycle to ride to work, or I decide to buy a Toyota Prius to ride to work. And now, instead of spending $200 a month on gas, I'm spending 40 bucks. So now the gas station owner gets angry at me and tells me, hey, listen, I noticed that you're riding your motorcycle to work, and before you were spending $200 a month, now you're only spending 40 bucks. I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's fair that other gasoline customers are subsidizing your ability to buy gas from the gas station. Because that's basically what they're saying. So by me using less of your product, somehow I'm subsidizing other people's ability to buy your product. So what if I decide that instead of spending $100 a month on mangoes at the local grocery store, I decide to plant a mango tree? So now does that mean that the owner of the grocery store has the right to say that I should pay him $100 a month for mangoes even though I don't need them? Does he have the right to say that other customers are subsidizing my ability to buy mangoes if I want to? And as you can see, this would apply for anything. I mean, if I put a satellite dish on my roof and stop paying $100 a month for cable, does that mean that the cable company now has the right to come back and say, hey, listen, I laid those cables, and if you don't use cable, it's not fair because other people are subsidizing your ability to have cable if you choose to? You see how this makes absolutely no sense? I mean, this wouldn't fly for anything. That's why they had to put 2 sentences worth of bait in order to, I guess, fool people to vote for this amendment. I mean, if the only thing on this amendment was the last sentence, nobody would vote for it. That's why they basically put 2 sentences worth of bait on top of it. I mean, I can't even believe this amendment was allowed to be on the ballot. So here we go. The notion that people without solar are subsidizing people with solar is a fallacy. It's not true. Rooftop solar increases the supply of power to the grid and reduces the demand. 101 economics teaches us that more supply and less demand equals lower prices for everyone. So basically, less demand equals lower prices for everyone. That's what they're actually afraid of. They're afraid that if more people install solar on their roof, there's going to be less demand and more supply, therefore decreasing, penalizing their profits. So that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid that they're going to make less money. So basically, they're trying to kill free market. They're trying to maintain their monopoly by passing this amendment. So this would be the equivalent of whoever makes a big SUV to actually come out and say, hey, listen, we're going to fine anybody for riding motorcycles or driving fuel efficient cars. I mean, this is the same thing. The cable company preventing people from having satellite dishes and saying, because they can't flat out ban them from having a satellite dish, are they going to come out now and say, you have to pay us because we already laid the cable? Is a gas station now going to come and say, hey, listen, you have to pay us because you're using less gas? Is the grocery store going to come and tell you, hey, listen, now that you planted these fruit trees, you have to pay us because you're buying less fruit? This makes absolutely no sense. And that's why they had to put 2 sentences worth of fluff, of bait, to fool people. So basically, the utility company's goal is to be able to legally penalize people for consuming less power. That's their ultimate goal, to penalize people for consuming less power. Amendment 1, if passed, could fine and charge Floridians for having rooftop solar power. Please help solar power in Florida by voting no on November. By voting no on 1 in November 2016. So you want to make sure, if you want to help solar, you vote no on 1 in November. Vote no on 1 in November. This amendment is not good. This helps nobody except the utility companies. And you can visit, donate, volunteer at HelpSolarPower.com. That's HelpSolarPower.com. That's the website for Floridians for Solar Choice. You can also visit HelpSolarPower.com. That's HelpSolarPower.com. Or the Sierra Club. You can find out more information at the Sierra Club. And this video here on the bottom of the page, HelpSolarPower.com, this video explains why such a sham amendment was even allowed to be put on Florida's ballot. Because as you can see, this is blatant bait and switch. This was purposely designed to confuse people, to make people think that it's pro-solar, to make people think that somehow people without solar are subsidizing the grid for people who have. This is just a sham. This is a scam. Take a look at this video and you'll see why it was even allowed on the ballot. You can find out more at HelpSolarPower.com. That's HelpSolarPower.com, or HelpSolarPower.com. That's HelpSolarPower.com. Please help solar power in Florida by voting no on 1 in November. Vote no on 1 in November and visit HelpSolarPower.com to find out more information.